Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I would like to start by thanking the organizers of the Global Food Regulators Summit in India for giving the Global Food Regulatory Science Society and giving me personally the opportunity to be part of this event and to share with you this presentation aiming to emphasize the importance of enhancing the investment in capacity development in food regulatory science and in food laboratory science in particular. No, I'm sure that you have been hearing this throughout the summit about the importance of food safety and how the food safety agenda represents a connector of so many policy agendas, the agriculture agenda, the health agenda, and the trade agenda, to cite a few. And also, we all know, and we have been working towards the characterization of the impacts of food safety or the lack thereof, and particularly on human health, with about 1 in 10 people getting sick as a result of improper food or unsafe food. And also the input of the World Health Organization characterizing about 420,000 deaths that are attributed to foodborne illnesses. We also know that food and agriculture commodities are amongst the most traded commodities around the world, representing about $2 trillion worth of the trade agenda. Food and food safety in particular is a major contributor to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Of course, without access to food, there's no way to end hunger or to be able to have a dent on addressing poverty. SDG 3 related to good health and well-being is clearly connected to food safety, and various SDGs related to economic growth and development are directly or indirectly impacted by the food safety agenda. Deficiencies in food safety have repercussions not only on human health, but definitely on businesses and on industries. And the continued food safety failures tend to have long-lasting impacts on economies, on countries, including by undermining the trust and the confidence that consumers and markets have towards certain foods, certain products, or even certain markets. This brings us to the imperative for us to continue to invest in enhancing food safety around the globe, including the ability to enhance the capacity that food regulatory systems are contributing to food safety by providing the environment and the level of oversight for food industries to develop and to thrive, enabling the production of nutritious and safe food products that contribute positively to the health of consumers. And this is one of the areas that our organization has identified, and that is the need to continue to invest in capacity development of food regulatory science. Now, how do we define food regulatory science? These are, in fact, all the various scientific disciplines, whether be it experimental science, social science, economic science, that are applied in the context of developing and understanding food regulatory decisions. And this is, of course, including, but not limited to, the foundations of food risk analysis and the various associated disciplines. This is, in fact, the objective of our organization, the Global Food Regulatory Science Society, aiming to promote the generation and dissemination of knowledge and competencies related to food regulatory science. Now, when we surveyed the various disciplines of food science through the International Union of Food Science and Technology, the major organization and the global voice of food science and technology, we identified that various food scientific disciplines had a home. Food regulatory scientific disciplines lacked one. And this is what we try to address through the creation of the Global Food Regulatory Science Society, which is a non-for-profit organization incorporated according to the laws of Canada, but with a global outreach aiming again to promote these disciplines of food regulatory science. The way the idea came about to create this organization was through a convening meeting that took place in 2019 and brought together current and former regulators, academics, but also representatives of the food industry sector. And we identified the need to create this organization that tries to get the resources and promote the various disciplines of food regulatory science. These are some of the colleagues that contributed to the foundation of G-Force, going from China, Europe, South America, and the Southwest Pacific. Our main motto is to promote collaboration, aiming for making available capacities and competencies in food regulatory science, knowing that competency development in particular requires a high level of investment, both in time and in resources. And we can only achieve the sought after impacts by creating synergies in those resources that are made available towards the development of these capacities, and particularly for competencies. This is particularly the case for specific disciplines of food regulatory science, such as food laboratory science. We know that food testing is essential in various food regulatory activities, including compliance verification and enforcement. And the ability, for example, to choose a food regulatory method to ascertain its performance and to be able to apply it in the context of compliance verification is one aspect of food regulatory science. And it is, in fact, a key element of the success of the performance of a food regulatory measure. If we have a standard and we do not have the tools to make sure that the standard is complied with, or we do not have the tool for about which or thanks to which we can ascertain the verification of compliance, such as an analytical method, that standard will not be effective. Our efforts tend to focus on trying to bring together various initiatives, various sources of funding, and try to leverage activities that are being handled around the globe to create those synergies and to enable higher level of effectiveness of the investments being made either at a country level, at a regional level, or at a global level. In the context of food laboratory science, we know that capacity development and competency enhancement is a costly proposition. Being able to generate data, thanks to food laboratory methods, require a high level of investment in infrastructure, in capacity, but also in competencies. And this is why we came up with the idea to develop a global food laboratory platform. This is meant to be a center of excellence in one component of food regulatory science, that is food laboratory science, trying to serve the regional development of these competencies. We also identified very early on that such a proposition requires both public and private involvement through the creation of public-private partnerships. We know that there are some examples that we can learn from, and particularly an example that was developed in India and is currently being implemented with such center of excellence in Mumbai, India, mobilizing resources from regulators and from technology providers. We are aiming to leverage the success of such initiatives and try to propagate these models with the relevant level of adaptation at the national or the regional level to promote food laboratory capacity building. 3 pillars of interventions have been identified through the collaboration with technology providers, we are aiming to develop technology demonstration initiatives, making available new analytical techniques, either within a physical center, such that these technologies can be tried, can be evaluated, or such that they can be used in order to develop some applications that might be useful to address one particular food safety or quality problem that is specific to a country or to a region. Even these type of technologies could be mobilized to address some of the issues that are witnessed by a specific food production sector. A second area of intervention is, of course, continued investment in capacity building, in competency development, and in training. And this is through the development of training curriculums, through localizing these training curriculums such that they are adapted to the audience that need them, but also through certifying the competencies that are to be acquired to be able to apply these solutions of food laboratory testing. And finally, we know that we test food for the purposes of generating data and using these data for decision making. Our ambition is to contribute to such availability of data, and particularly data that will enable to make food regulatory decisions feasible, thanks to the application of the principles of risk analysis and particularly contribution to food risk assessments. We are, of course, aiming to have a collaboration with various partners. We have the privilege to have GForce anchored in an academic center in Canada, and that's Laval University and the Institute of Nutrition and Functional Food, thanks to the creation of a platform of food risk analysis and regulatory policies within the university. So we are aiming definitely to leverage this collaboration and this contribution. We are aiming also to reach out to the various networks that have been developing around the world, both with the academic centers, but also with these public and private partnerships, and engage with non-for-profit organizations and specialized organizations such as AOAC International, the reference and the standards organization in food laboratory applications. We are aiming to start our activities in Africa, in the Middle East, but also trying to reach out to wherever the need might be expressed. We have had, thankfully, some initiatives that allowed us to demonstrate a proof of concept of this global food laboratory platform, and particularly in attempting to mobilize resources and to create synergies between various organizations and initiatives to bring about a training and a capacity building program that was implemented over a period of about 2 years. This initiative was funded by the United States Department of Agriculture for an agriculture service, but also from funding from USAID, so the Agency for International Development of the United States. This program helped us to deliver a training initiative using an e-learning platform that was targeting about 160 African experts, with a level of participation that exceeded 80% of those that got enrolled into the program. From these 160 experts that graduated from a 3 to 4 month e-learning program, we selected 10 contributors that followed a face-to-face and a hands-on training initiative in Dubai in the summer of 2022, where essentially we focused on applications that were related to mycotoxin analysis and multi-residue pesticide testing. We mobilized the capacities of various organizations and programs, and particularly AOAC International, with the contribution of the Arab section of AOAC International, the African section, but also the India section, thanks to the competencies from the India section providing us with the trainers and the experts that allowed to deliver this program. We also relied on the commitment and support of a number of technology providers, the Waters Corporation, our Biofarm, and we are hoping to mobilize more of these technology providers in future initiatives through the launch of the Global Food Laboratory Platform. And we are hoping to enhance our activities thanks to the collaboration that was developed with major regulators in the region. And in this case, it was the collaboration with the African Union that was so critical to make this program feasible and successful. This model of synergy creation resulted in the training from which you are seeing now some illustrations, and we are hoping to build on this success to be able to propagate various practices, good laboratory practices, and addressing some of the needs that are being identified by various food regulatory authorities to enable their compliance verification activities and also to support their enforcement powers thanks to food laboratory applications. Through the GFLP, we are hoping to continue efforts of designing and delivering training, both in person, but also through virtual means and through electronic platforms. We are hoping to support technology demonstration and technology development, and particularly the development of applications that are needed for specific sectors or specific food production areas where some of the technologies may not have been put into application to address some of the problems identified by some sectors. We're also hoping to contribute to the generation of data underpinning food regulatory decisions, and then to develop a network and an enabling environment for scientific services that can serve both regulators and the business community. The collaboration of partners and stakeholders is critical in this context, and that's why we are hoping to create a sustainable initiative with a sound operational model that would allow to multiply the collaboration with these technology providers, but also to create the relevant linkages with food regulatory organization. At the end of the day, one of our main objectives is to contribute to the robustness of food regulatory systems and to enable the application of the food risk analysis principles. Finally, I would like to use this opportunity to reiterate our commitment to supporting efforts of data generation and dissemination, data that supports food risk analysis and ultimately food regulatory decision making. We are also aiming to continue our efforts towards the development of training and capacity building program to enhance competencies in food risk assessments. Of course, maintaining and sustaining what was achieved in the investments related to food laboratory science will be critical, and we are hoping that by doing so, we will be contributing to the promotion of the development of international standards, international food standards that are representative of the global environment and that are aiming to protect consumers' health and to create a favorable environment for the trade of food and agri-food commodities. We are very much open to the collaboration with all partners and stakeholders. We are also aiming to do our modest contribution in the various efforts of capacity building in food laboratory science and in food regulatory science overall. And I invite you to visit our website at gforce.org to learn more about our initiatives, but also to reach out to us should you be interested in developing collaborations with our organizations and with our network. Once again, I would like to thank the organizers for giving us the opportunity to be part of this event. I wish great success to the development of this forum. And again, congratulations to the government of India for the leadership exercised in the development of this Global Food Regulators Forum.